Wow, how does change happen? There's a lot of different ways to look at it, and one of them might be that everything that happens has an inevitability. That if you roll a ball down a hill, it will take a certain path, bumping around, whatever. If you roll that ball from exactly to the atom, the same place, it will always take that path down the hill. And when you came, this is a philosophy that I first heard from an Indian philosopher called Ramesh Balsekar, who's dead now, who said that, you know, you come in as a baby, you have no choice about the genes and predispositions that you came with. So you take that vessel and then you give it the exact experiences it had in exactly that order. It will inevitably make the choices it always made. So if you take Thai, and over the 40, 50 years, you had exactly those experiences, which you had no choice in really, you would have always chosen today to start going to the gym or to start reading Dickens, or the choices you think you were making from the moment your ball started rolling down the hill were inevitable. And this guy Ramesh Balsekar argues universal innocence on those grounds, that there's no room for any shame or guilt in life because you really have had no choices. And then I read another book, which was one really wonderful book by Dr. David Eagleman, who's a neuroscientist. And he wrote a book called Incognito. And it's all about how your brain works, basically. And it's a fascinating and beautiful anecdotes and case studies and very readable and warm book. And you think you're reading a book just about the brain. And he kind of argues the same thing, that basically every choice you make, your unconscious mind has made something silly like 60 trillion computations for every one that your front thinking mind makes. And you think you choose, but really every choice you make was calculated. And your unconscious mind, having done all that calculation and assimilation, offers your front mind up a summary, like the headlines, and makes this look more attractive than that. And we have the, oh, I think I'll choose this. And you have the illusion of choosing, but the choice was actually made, the attraction to that choice was made long before your front mind had anything to do with it. So when you say, how does change occur? There's a good chance that we are all just passengers. And we have the appearance of working on ourselves spiritually and evolving and everything, but actually we're really just watching. And none of it is in our control or choice whatsoever. You have to be open to that possibility. And the egos watching this don't like to hear it. We don't like to, because we have such a strong illusion of ourself. So to answer your question, how does change happen? It could easily be that it doesn't happen, and it is happening all by itself without us having anything to do with it, and we're having a lovely game of feeling like we're in a simulation, that we're having this experience, but really it's just a simulation. And I think that's maybe what some of the spiritual Eastern people mean by it's all an illusion. But I still also believe that while we've signed up for this game, if it is a game, we should fully immerse ourselves and live through the illusion as if we are having the choices we appear to have. So it doesn't, in a way, in our practice, make much difference. And to involve ourselves in the game is the game. And to allow ourselves to enjoy the illusion. It's not about it's an illusion, so dismiss it. It's an illusion, so fully enjoy it. You've paid your money to go and see Avatar. And they spent a lot of time making that movie for you. I'm not interested in people that go, oh, it's all an illusion, it's all an illusion. It's like someone sitting next to you in the movie going, oh, they're not really blue, they built that in a Mac. And it's like, I don't want someone to keep going, it's an illusion, because I've come for the illusion. Let me watch the movie. Then afterwards we can talk about how well they did the illusion. To go deeper in to just the human experience of how does change happen, putting all of that aside, imagining that we do have choice, let's go into the game. From the game point of view, the simulation, for me, change happens through listening, through yin, listening, curiosity, fascination, and above all, willing to turn towards whatever's going on. So we've been very culturally programmed to be addicted to comfort. get a headache, take a pill. So many experiences which are painful and edgy, which this planet has lots of, we automatically turn away from. We don't want uncomfortable. We don't want, it's counterintuitive to be interested in your pain. We've been so brainwashed to get rid of our pain and only go for comfy things, but life is a conveyor belt of pleasure and pain. And actually in a lot of the pain, there's huge amounts of illuminations about yourself, there's huge amounts of intimacy, the compassion for other people experiencing those dark things goes through the roof. One's gratitude for nurses and people that help you in those moments, and friends, and finding, there's so much treasure in pain. But we've been culturally brainwashed to turn away from it. So what we do, instead of when pain comes, being fascinated, which is what I teach and hope to do myself, is when pain comes, be curious about it and let it do whatever it's doing and be interested. We resist it. And that's what suffering is. Pain plus resistance is suffering. Pain plus curiosity is progress, is healing. So my practice and what I try and teach with one-on-ones or workshops or writing or whatever is to encourage people, for what it's worth, to dare to turn towards what's going on instead of turning away and going and getting a therapy session to get rid of something. To have the opposite attitude. When someone comes to a session with me and they go, I've got this thing I need to get rid of, I'm immediately like, you're not the person I need to be speaking to. We need to speak to the person who's interested. And when we turn towards things and become yin, which is turning towards, curious, fascinated, looking, letting it impact us rather than pushing it away, when we let something impact us, which is what yin is, being penetrated, being impacted, I have found incredible illuminations, incredible humour, incredible compassion, incredible lifeness, incredible intimacy with you when we both do it together and talk about it. The treasure of life for me is in the yin, is in the curiosity and the fascination, in letting it hit us and not being too much on a control trip to bat back all the tennis balls to constantly preserve our comfort zone. So for me, if there is change, which again, well, the jury is out, but in the world where we believe there is change and we have something to do with it, it's all about listening, willingness to feel our feelings, not be in rejection of the edges, willingness to feel, fascinating, even being a wine taster of our feelings. What does it feel like? What colour is that headache? What texture is that depression? Oh, it's a pressure on my chest. Where is it in the body? Really going into the fascination of it. And then I find I'm being a willing participant in whatever genius is trying to happen, because I do trust that whatever's happening, my body has a genius that's beyond my own intelligence. It's mending itself, it's healing scratches, it's knitting bones together, it's scanning for bacteria, it's mending, creating medicine. I mean, it's got an incredible genius beyond my front mind thinking ego. So to trust it and be interested in what it might be doing and try and being a willing participant in it, for me, is how change happens. I think organisational change and cultural change is the extension of all the mosaic parts doing stuff. So if I change and you change, the whole will change at the speed at which all the components change. So definitely the most activism we can do is working on ourselves as components of the big thing. It's not an externalizing operation to go and fight and to go and occupy Wall Street without checking in with my own corruption every morning and how I lie to myself, or how I manipulate my kids, or how I hide things from my girlfriend, or whatever. And if I'm not looking at those little corruptions or big, then the whole will never change. Also, there's a belief that the external things we see around us are a mirror of our internal state. And I know people find that a little bit wooky and sort of like want to dismiss it, but I've had so many experiences where when I change something on the inside, the outside changes by itself, and it's happened too many times for me to ignore it. I had an experience, I'll try and tell you the quick version of this. I've got a workshop game where we choose an enemy, choose someone that we've never forgiven or something went wrong with, and we become their defense barrister, that we have to get the judge to reduce their sentence. And we have to do a bullet point list of any mitigating circumstances, any innocence we can bring to convince the judge to reduce the sentence. And we also have to come up with all things we've done to co-create it without self-shaming. Anyway, I did this exercise with this guy who'd come, and 4 years earlier his best mate he'd been making a film with had disappeared with all the footage, and he'd never heard back from him, and he was like never forgiven him, and he'd actually come to the workshop to revamp this project. Anyway, he did this process where he fully took responsibility and fully found as much innocence in the guy as he could, and went through that whole process. And that day that he got back home, he found a parcel wedged in his postbox, and it was the hard drives with all the footage on from 4 years ago, and a huge letter of apology from the guy. So I don't know, you know, like, I do believe I believe in magic, I believe in fairies, I believe in guardian angels. You know, I know it sounds wookie, but I feel I'm an intelligent guy, and my experience of this planet so far has shown me those things have more likely to be true than not true, you know. So as unprovable as it is, as much as I would offend my friends Richard Dawkins and Stephen Fry, I still, it's just in my heart of hearts, in my water, in my something, it feels true. That the external is a mirror somehow of the internal. And of course, when I go out into the world and I'm shitty, I do tend to meet shittier people, you know.